My name is Grace, and when I met David, I thought I had finally found the one. He was handsome, successful, and emotionally mature in a way I had never experienced before. When he told me he was divorced with a young son, I wasn't scared off. In fact, the way he spoke about his ex-wife, Sophie, was one of the things that made me fall for him. "We're best friends," he'd said, with a genuine smile. "We're a team for our son Leo. There's no drama." And he was right. When I finally met Sophie, she was a revelation. She was beautiful, charming, and impossibly welcoming. She hugged me, told me she'd heard wonderful things, and insisted we go for coffee. Just the two of us. "Anyone who makes David this happy is a friend of mine," she'd said, and I believed her. I thought I had hit the relationship jackpot, the perfect man with the perfect, drama-free ex-wife. The manipulation started so subtly that I barely noticed it. It was disguised as helpful advice. "Oh, David absolutely loves that little Italian place on 5th Street, she told me when I was planning a surprise date. The date was a disaster. The moment we walked in, David's face fell. It turned out to be the restaurant where he had proposed to her. The entire dinner was a tour of their shared memories, with me as the awkward guest. When I told Sophie later, she was horrified. "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I completely forgot. I feel terrible," she'd said, her apology so sincere I felt guilty for even being upset. She'd accidentally send group texts with old family photos that included her and David in a happy embrace. She'd call him with a minor parenting emergency right in the middle of our date nights. Each time, she was apologetic, and each time, David would defend her. "She's not doing it on purpose, Chloe. Her life is hard as a single mom. We have to be understanding." The first time I felt a true, cold dread was during Thanksgiving. Sophie and her son, of course, joined us at David's parents' house. Throughout the dinner, Sophie was the star of the show, telling funny, intimate stories from her marriage to David. They were stories I'd never heard, full of inside jokes that made the whole family roar with laughter. I sat there, smiling until my cheeks ached, feeling like a complete and utter outsider. As she was telling a particularly hilarious story about their honeymoon, she caught my eye and gave me a tiny, almost imperceptible wink. It wasn't a friendly gesture, it was a declaration. It said, "You are a guest in this family. I am, and always will be, the main character." I left that dinner feeling profoundly alone, a creeping paranoia telling me that this wasn't a friendship. It was a competition I didn't even know I was in. I tried to talk to David about the Thanksgiving dinner, about the wink, about the constant feeling of being on the outside of a private club. His reaction was exactly what Sophie would have wanted. "Chloe, you're being insecure," he said, a hint of annoyance in his voice. "That's just her personality. She's trying to include you. You need to make more of an effort." I was being gaslit, and I knew it. He was making me the problem. I realized that complaining would only make me look like the jealous, crazy new girlfriend. So I stopped talking, and I started watching. The pattern of sabotage became undeniable once I was looking for it. The small emergencies always happened at the worst possible times. Our first planned weekend away was cancelled because Sophie called David in a panic over their son's forgotten science project. The project was due in 2 weeks. A non-urgent issue was weaponized to ruin our plans, and Sophie's tearful apology over the phone was worthy of an Oscar. The final clarifying event happened a month later. David had a career-defining presentation at work. He was nervous, and I spent the entire week helping him prepare, running lines, making his slides perfect. He was ready. He was confident. The morning of the presentation, just as he was about to leave, his phone rang. It was Sophie, of course. She was hysterical. Their son had fallen at the playground, and she was on her way to the emergency room. David, naturally, dropped everything and rushed to the hospital. I went with him. We arrived to find their son happily eating an ice cream cone with a small scrape on his knee. The doctor said he was perfectly fine. Sophie was there, looking flustered. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I just panicked. I overreacted, but the damage was done." David had missed his presentation. His boss was furious. His big opportunity was gone. As I watched Sophie comfort a devastated David, I knew, with absolute certainty, that it had been a deliberate act. She had manufactured a crisis to sabotage his success, to make him fail so he would need her to pick him up. That evening, my blood boiling, I did something I never thought I'd do. I logged into the shared family account for the cloud service they used for photos. I was looking for something, anything. I didn't find photos. I found a shared calendar. And on it, I saw not just their son's school events, but David's entire work schedule, his deadlines, his meetings, and my own appointments that I had shared with him. She wasn't just his ex-wife. She was his puppet master, and she was stalking us. I knew I couldn't just show David the calendar. He would find a way to excuse it, to rationalize it as Sophie being an over-involved co-parent. I needed to catch her in the act to get undeniable proof of her malice, not just her manipulation. So, I set a trap. I told David I wanted to plan a huge surprise birthday party for him. It was the perfect cover. I told him I needed to get in touch with his oldest friends and that Sophie would have their contact information. I then called Sophie, playing the part of the friendly, slightly clueless girlfriend. "Sophie, I need your help," I said. "I want to throw a surprise party for David, and I need your expertise to make it perfect." She jumped at the chance to be in control. We met for coffee to plan. I set my phone on the table between us, its voice recorder secretly running. I started by talking about the guest list. Then, I steered the conversation. "I feel so bad about what happened with his big presentation," I said, my voice full of fake sympathy. "It's such a shame he was so stressed that morning." Sophie took the bait. A smug, knowing smile crept onto her face. "Well," she said, her voice low and conspiratorial, "sometimes a man needs to be reminded where his real priorities are. His career can't always come first. Sometimes his family needs him." "But it turned out to be just a scrape," I prodded gently. Her eyes hardened. "He needed to be there," she said. "He needs to remember that I am the mother of his child, not you. You're just a temporary distraction. He'll get tired of playing house eventually. They always do. And when he comes back, I'll be there to pick up the pieces." It was all there. The admission, the malice, the breathtaking arrogance. I had her. That night, I didn't stage a dramatic confrontation. The next time David started defending Sophie after she'd pulled another minor stunt, I didn't argue. I just said, "Okay, honey, I understand." Then I put my phone on the coffee table and played the recording. I watched as the blood drained from David's face. He listened to the cold, calculating voice of the woman he thought was his best friend. He heard her admit to sabotaging his career. He heard her call me a temporary distraction. The perfect image of his amicable divorce was shattered forever. The gaslighting was over. The confrontation he had with Sophie was explosive, but it was his, not mine. He finally set the firm, clear boundaries he should have set years ago, cutting her out of his life beyond polite, logistical emails about their son. Our relationship was strained, but for the first time, it was honest. We had to rebuild our trust, but we were doing it without a puppet master pulling the strings. I hadn't just fought for my relationship, I had fought for my reality, and I had won.